Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for journeying along and reading the Bible. Of course, I figure you'd be doing that on your own anyway, but it's nice to, I guess, kind of journey along together in this, I suppose. Whatever help this is to you, I pray that you are enriched as we're reading through the letters of Paul right now in Corinthians. We're looking through the prophet Isaiah, and we're touring through the wisdom literature, specifically in the book of Proverbs. And so that has been the kind of cycle that we've been on. We had finished out with the Gospel of Mark, and boy, was that powerful or what? Wow. And we are still kind of just getting warmed up in Isaiah, to be honest, even though there's been some really incendiary chapters. It's just really not even all there yet. I mean, there is just this upcoming chapters which is just going to just blow your mind away, really, when you're just reading, and it's just like, this is the book of Isaiah. I mean, right from here, the book of Isaiah, when we finally get to chapter 53 and you just go over there and look it over, chapter 53, it's like, oh my God, this is right here, this is Jesus right here in Isaiah chapter 53, and we haven't even gotten close to it yet. We're still in the 20s. Reading through with the wisdom literature, obviously, if I recall, we're in the chapters 20, so we're going to close out on that soon in a few cycles, and probably from there we'll continue on with kind of the way the rotation has been in that cycle, the little microcycle, in including reading from the wisdom literature. So from Proverbs we'll probably go into another piece of wisdom literature, or perhaps we'll interject with something like the writings in terms of like Psalms or something, but we haven't gotten there yet, so I guess we'll see, right? But basically we'll have some wisdom literature. We are going to stay with Isaiah for a while, because that's like, it's a couple, that's a couple of chapters to go. It's pretty heavy, but what a wonderful time to go through it. I mean, really. And the letters of Paul kind of brings us into a very strong application. It's amazing to just kind of get the feel of this panorama of how God is dealing with people. I mean, because you have the tone that comes out from Proverbs, this wisdom literature, and it's just so very just common sense type of stuff. It's just great guidelines, great, just principles even that is just so applicable, and just it's not so hyper. I don't want to say like super hyper, but it's just like, hey, look, you lend to the poor, you lend to the Lord, God will bless you, things like that. Or don't go hanging out with prostitutes because you're going to be in trouble because she's like a deep pit. And reading stuff like that is like, you know what? Yeah, definitely need to hear some wisdom like that, don't we all? But then when you get to letters of Paul, it's like, this guy is really invested in, and you really catch God's concern in pastoral care in the letters of Corinthians. It's just obviously because he's writing to the church in Corinthians, in Corinth, and so it's just it's kind of a different vantage, because right here he's not, although I think from what I do recall, at least in chapters somewhere towards like chapters I don't know, like 6, 7 or something like that, Apostle Paul was pretty angry about some things, but more or less the overall tone of the Corinthians isn't like an indictment, like, you know what, this is it, just call it quits, the day of judgment's coming, get ready because all judgment's going to break loose, and after you've really gotten it, you really understood, because you've broken the law, then here's the good news. But with Corinthians, it's not exactly like that. It comes from a different vantage point, and it's trying to help people that have received the grace already. They know better, and it's almost like they are kind of aloof, these converts, in a way, in the church, somewhat aloof of just the gravity of the very deity that they're dealing with. I mean, they have a lot of the Gentile believers coming in at this point, for the most part, are coming in from the pagan worldview and mysticisms and all that type of stuff, and some of them entrenched in something more sordid and fleshly, but more or less, the Jewish believers have really felt and understand the fear of the Lord, but apparently by the time Apostle Paul is writing in Corinthians, some of these people are just not getting the picture that this God, he is not someone that you just fool around with. He's merciful, and he has shown his love in sending the Son. But the context is that this God is holy, and so you really get that coming in out of Isaiah, because I mean, you just can't go but a few chapters in Isaiah, and God is delivering. I mean, he is immediate, and he is delivering judgment on nations. All right. He is articulating specific economic disasters, military disasters. He is talking about destroying a people group in a way, in terms of its power, and he's just saying so much. This is the God who is the Lord of hosts. Lord of hosts is not some nice, fluffy, bunny kind of Easter bonnet title. This is a terrorizing, fearful title. But this is the title that is vested upon the Almighty, who carries that authority and power, in Isaiah, and you feel it. You can't help but feel it. I mean, it's amazing because he is very passionate about it, very passionate about how angry he is about some matters, and when he delivers the judgment, it is done. Once it's done, it's done. So I think it's quite an amazing wake up for many of us, in that sometimes we just get so isolated in our own text. Now, I'm not trying to present a God who doesn't love people, but we do have a significant portion or population that I think, at least in some of the Christendom and charismatic Pentecostal circles, maybe I'm just talking an opinion, I'm just pulling the stuff out of the air, I don't know. But basically it's just like, well, they don't ever bother to consider that, the God who raises nations up and brings them down, who casts a judgment on cities, that this is the very same God who had sent the Son, and the very same God that is sending the Son at the end of days to usher in the millennia, which is going to be preceded with the judgment of the holy ones. And that's something you don't want to be on the wrong side of. When Jesus Christ comes back, it's not like, hey, I'm a nice guy. No, he's going to the Mount of Olives. He's coming with thousands of his holy ones. They're bringing judgment on the earth. When we get over to Revelations, we're going to be reading about, like, oh my God, the apocalyptic kind of tone and the texture and the details of how horrible it's going to be. It makes you understand that, wait a second, people are afraid of the devil, or they're afraid, or they're concerned about their own little proclivities and iniquities and their own little quirks. I mean, and you should be concerned about those things, but they're not afraid. They don't understand that the salvation of Jesus Christ isn't just so that you can, feel good about yourself, but there is really something very particular in terms of what lies ahead in the wrath of God. And I think some of the old revivalists in America really understood that, and they understood that trembling fear, knowing that this isn't a God that you play around with like he's your buddy. Yeah, he is with you, but he's not someone that you're like overly familiar with, because this is the deity that has the power to destroy a soul, which is an awesome power. The devil cannot do that. No demon, no fallen angel can do that. And when the end of days comes, it's just the wrath of God. People will wish they could die, but they won't be able to, because God will extend their life for the purpose that they would suffer. And that's something, we don't like to think about. We think about, oh, a God who loves people, and He does. But that goodness is also contrasted with the severity of the holiness and wrath of God. And so, without which you won't appreciate the mercy or the grace. And so, I think being able to look through the wisdom literature and get a feel of how God had expressed Himself in a very, very immediate sense in the prophets, begins to color exactly the goodness and the love that we find, after reading through the Gospels, and especially since, at the time of this recording, we're approaching Resurrection Sunday, traditionally known as Easter. And the love of God is just is wonderful, but also the love of God is also very jealous. Let's not forget that God loved his covenant people Israel, and because He loved them so much, right, He sent His prophets to them to deliver the judgment. It's well written, as well said, that it says judgment begins in the household of God. So, because you're marked, because you're saved, it doesn't mean that because He loves you, you're going to be somehow wished away from problems or whatnot. But if God is seriously concerned about your sanctification and the fellowship that belongs to Him in purchasing you, then He will be involved in your life in some way or fashion, and that may very well involve some of the more difficult applications of Scripture that we don't like to go to, because it's a fearful thing. It's just, we don't like to think about that. We prefer, I don't want to make it all heavy, but come on. We prefer, hey, answer my prayers, get me some good stuff. I'd like to have a lot of nice things and nice experiences in this journey. But some of the experiences that belong to the covenant people is, pretty tragic in a way. I mean, when it goes serious, it goes really serious. So you don't want to go there. It's better to learn from what is already written than to try to go ahead and try to try to remake and reinvent the wheel of judgment and mercy. Let's just go sin that mercy may increase. And Apostle Paul had to deal with that when people abusing the grace of God, and they were saying the very same thing. Let's sin some more so that grace may abound. And Apostle Paul is like, that's not how it works. So anyway, I just think that this is just a wonderful, wonderful way to go, and being able to go through, and meet with God in these passages from the writings, from the prophets, and from the New Testament, going through the letters right now. Anyway, God bless you. Have a great and wonderful day. Bye.